To LearnPianoLive.com, this is an advanced lesson. So this is for students who are known by their friends as a pianist. You've got hopefully some knowledge of chords, maybe some sheet music reading, some sight reading skills. You know chords. You've been playing enough to impress almost all of your friends with your piano skills. So if that's you, you're in the right place. If you're in the lesson and it feels way too advanced, you might want to go check out yesterday's lesson, the intermediate version of this week's topic, or the lesson before that, the beginner's lesson, because those will break down the same concepts, only easier. So, but if you are an advanced student, then ask away. No question is too advanced or too obscure. So this is just all about you. You got to ask me the question so I know what to answer and know how to help you out best. There's a couple other things I want to talk to you about too before this countdown clock gets to 0. All right, first and most important, ask a lot of questions. The way that you're going to do that is there's a couple different ways. You can jump in the chat room and talk with the other students who are logged in at the same time. I'll be watching the chat room too. You ask your questions there, or if it's a question that's just for me, a question about the lesson, especially if you know it's one that's going to fit best at the question and answer time at the end, then you can just put your name and your question in the box below this video, click submit, and then I will get that. Now, if you're already in the archives, if you're watching this not live, but you're watching this in the archives, then make sure at the end of the lesson you click on the survey button. You don't have to fill out the entire survey. If you want to, I'd love your feedback, but really the best part of that is that you can put your question in there, and then we click submit. Then I will get all of your questions. I'll make sure that you get them answered, whether you're in the archives or you're live. Right next to this video, there should be a PDF button and an MP3 button. Now, you don't really need those till after the lesson because I'm going to be showing you on screen the PDF and showing you how to use it. And I'll play the MP3 during the lesson too, so you know at the end of the lesson how you're going to use that. Some people, though, like to print out the PDF ahead of time, so as I'm making notes on my version, they can make the same notes on their version, but it works either way. All right, this is perhaps the most important part. You need to leave the lesson when you feel like you're sufficiently challenged. So, I'm teaching these lessons, 12 to 15 lessons a month. Normally, in traditional lessons, you're getting like a lesson every other week or so. So this is just way too much for you to take in. So, the goal is for you to get some little nugget of something that you can really practice on, really work on. Once you feel like you have that, then you really don't need anything else from me. Go practice. That's where this stuff is really going to happen. You're not going to get through this lesson and be able to play something really well. You're going to get through this lesson and have the information that you need to practice more effectively. That's really the goal here. So don't feel bad about taking off early. If you feel like halfway through the lesson you got as much as you can take in at that time, then go practice that thing, and then come back whenever you've got that thing down, or you're bored with it, or you just want to check out the next topic. Don't forget also that you've got the archives too. So if you want to see one little thing, just repeat it over and over and over. Just give me, hopefully within 24 hours after the lesson, this thing will be up in the archive, so you can just go back and watch it over and over and over and over and just get that little segment down. All right, today we're doing everybody's favorite topic. Out of the 8 sectors of musicianship, the one that everybody always likes the most is application. That's where you finally actually get to play a song. So if you've been here for the last couple weeks, you'll notice a lot of the same concepts popping up today, because we're going to take those concepts, we're going to apply them to a very specific song. If you haven't been here, don't worry about it. I'll show you how to play all of our little concepts. So hopefully at the end of today's lesson, you'll have all the tools to practice an actual real song that you can play for your friends and impress them. Let's go. All right, and I just tested that's in there. No. All right, welcome back, everybody. This is super weird. As you can probably tell, I've got 2 guests back there, right back. Yes, right there. I'm pointing at them now. This is Jesse and Morgan, and as requested, they're going to cover this song with me. And as you might have predicted, I called up Morgan and said, "Hey, would you cover the song?" She's like, "Yeah, but I want to change the key." So as promised, and watch out for those vocalists, I'm telling you. So we got to change the key on this thing, and I'm going to turn off my mic so you can hear them sing. We're going to run through this song, go through your questions. So if you have questions for either of them that you've been waiting for a couple days to send in those questions right now. We'll get to the chat room in a little bit, and we're going to try covering this thing live. We did several takes of this not live here before, so yes. we're going to let that be the public one, and this is just for those of you who are brave enough to weather our technical difficulties. Neither of them, I guess he doesn't have any any sound in his headphones right now, as neither do I, which I don't. Do. Yeah, she does. So if she's the only one in tune or on time for this whole thing, you'll know why. Here we go. Good luck to us and to you listening. You might want to mute it here for a little bit as I stumble through this thing in the key of, just so you know, we're doing the key of F is where we're starting, and then the transition from F would be to the key of, any guesses at home? Key of C. So we're going from the key of F to the key of C, which is the equivalent of what we had before, which was the key of E to the key of B. We'll see how this all goes. Here we go. Check, check. Cool, I'm not coming through. Ready?
Yep, let's do it.
All right, let's do it. Oh, go ahead and just count for me to 5, both of you.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Cool, and then, yeah, my piano's way too loud. Let me turn you guys up.
Okay.
Check, check.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Cool.
All right.
Turn the strings down, you know.
That's okay. I could find the whole meaning of life in those sad eyes. They've seen things you never quite say, but I hear. Come out of hiding, I'm right here beside you. And I'll stay there as long as you'll let me. Because you matter to me. Simple and plain, and not much to ask from somebody. You matter to me. I promise you do. You matter too. I promise you do. You'll see. You matter to me.
It's addictive the minute you let yourself think. The things that I say just might matter to someone. All of this time I've been keeping my mind on the running away. And for the first time, I think I'd consider the stay. Because you matter to me. Simple and plain, and not much to ask from somebody. You matter to me. I promise you do. You matter too. I promise you do. You'll see. You matter to me. Dear baby, I hope someday somebody wants to hold you for 20 minutes straight. They don't pull away. They don't look at your face. And they don't try to kiss you. All they do is they wrap you up in your arms and hold you without an ounce of selfishness to it. I hope you become addicted, baby. I hope you become addicted to saying things and having them matter to someone.
You much to ask from somebody. You matter to me.
I promise you do.
Come out of hiding, I'm right here beside you. As long as you'll let me hide, I promise you do. You matter to me.
You'll see. You matter to me. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, very cool. Except for the coughing fit by the time. Man, he was annoying. Tell you what, his mic's not on. Serves him right. Okay. So anyway, we're gonna dive into what exactly was going on there, as well as your questions for these two guys here, Jesse and Morgan. In just a minute, we're going to reorganize here so that you can see them better and not so much of my big noggin like you always get to see. So anyway, we'll be back in just a minute. All right, and I think we're back. Here we go. So then, Morgan and Jesse, tell us a little bit about how you got to where you are, what your life path looks like. I know of Jesse that you have some experience being in a band with family members, and then Morgan, I know more about than we will let on here in this. Back in 5th grade, I was her teacher, and that's all that needs to be said.
Nothing
there. Yes, embarrassing moments for both of us, I'm sure.
Oh, many.
But anyway, Jesse, why don't we start with you and tell us a little bit about about your background and how you got into music and why you want to continue to be in music.
Yeah.
Whether you want to or not.
I-
Maybe
I-
after today
to some
you
extent,
change your
yeah.
mind.
So I started playing piano when I was I think 4. It's just kind of something my parents wanted me to do when I was growing up, and transitioned into stringed instruments when I was in 5th grade. And as a result of that and some other things that were happening in my family at the time, we decided that we were going to put together a bluegrass band and go on tour. And so we bought a motorhome and booked an 8-month tour. I believe was our first tour back in 2010.
Wait. So your first tour was an 8-month tour?
I believe, yeah. I can't. It's been a long time, but it was a long stint on the road. And we just went around playing churches and bluegrass festivals, and anybody that would take us, and that was the thing that really got me into music, was doing it semi-professionally, professionally for about 4.5 years. So, and then just recently have transitioned into theater and musical theater and started to really develop a love for that as well. So. Right.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's very cool. I'm sure we'll have plenty of questions about that. Morgan, your turn.
Yeah.
All right. So tell us about yourself.
I think I've always really had a passion for music. My first passion was music, and when I was little, I would do like iMovies, and I'd record myself on GarageBand, as I'm sure some of you have maybe experienced some very, very embarrassing footage of me. And then I think like I had a point where I was like, I want to do professional recording. And so I did this thing called AMTC, some of you may know it, Actors, Models, and Talent for Christ. And it was a talent convention, and I went and performed in Florida in front of like 50 to 100 casting directors, agents, different people who are big in the industry.
Wow, that's terrifying.
Yes, it was very terrifying, and it was all climactic because I went and I got headshots in LA and I had like tons of workshops and stuff. It was intense. And then it led up to this one moment in December in Florida. And I think that's where I decided that I didn't want to do professional recording, and where I decided I wanted to do theater.
Okay, tell us more about that. There's lots of questions about professional recording all the time. So tell us about what was not so attractive about it, in as much detail as you're comfortable with.
Okay, yeah. So I met with a few different management people, and the whole thing about the industry is if you don't come in with knowing exactly what you want to do, they're going to create something for you. And they're going to create you into something sometimes that you don't feel very comfortable with, or something that you don't really feel represents you the best. And so I came in and I hadn't really written a lot of my own music. I only had a few things, and they really liked my voice and they liked my style, but they wanted to put an image on me and started creating me into something that I didn't really want to be. So I didn't really like that aspect. And I found theater to be more fulfilling because I was on a stage and I had the freedom to create a character. And it was more up to me at that point, and I really liked that creative and artistic ability. So yeah, that's where I came to. So now I'm going to school. I'm getting a BA in theater, and I've been doing shows now for the past 3 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
Cool. The shows you've been in so far, if you can remember
All
any
of them?
Some of them.
I'll tell you a few of my highlights.
Okay.
I was in Crucible as Mary Warren. That was a play. I was in Oklahoma the musical. And I just did It's a Wonderful Life. So did Jesse. He was in all of those 3, actually. That's how we know each other. Cool. And then I also did White Christmas. I did Steel Magnolias. Those are just a few to highlight.
Okay, awesome. Now, we have some questions about the difference between recording or being a vocalist and being in theater. What percentage of that is acting? And I'm generalizing from a couple different questions here.
Okay.
But what role does that play, and how much more work is there to be done to take a good voice into theater?
Yeah,
either one of you.
I have very little experience in musical theater. I've done one musical, but I've really been interested in film and acting for a long time. I think the main difference between being a recording artist and being in theater is your ability to be able to tell stories to an audience. I think that's where a lot of and obviously music can tell stories, and you can give people really interesting, unique stories through music. But I think with theater, I know for me, it's a different kind of experience because you're actually playing your reality through a character. So you have this lens that you're looking through to be able to represent this character, and it's a lens that's based on your own personal experience. It's based on your life to some extent, and you get to bring that to people and give people a little taste of that. But also there's all the work that goes into acting and preparation for characters, things like that. It's a whole different beast than just music, and they're equally challenging, I think, but just for very different reasons, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, I always like to say for theater, when you're stepping into a character, it's like you have this, and he kind of touched on it, there's like a lens, and you step into the lens or the shell of the character, and you shines through this shell, but you still have the shell separating you from the audience. And so I guess the difference would be between professional recording is you're bringing your whole self to the table, rather than in theater you have the shell of the character that's kind of protecting you a little bit. So it's a very vulnerable process either way. They're very similar in that way.
Now, you also have the additional live aspect of live theater, which means you don't get to just do another take or whatever. So how does that change the way that you prep or the experience?
Oh, I would say it's so much more fun
It's
that
a lot
way.
more rehearsal.
Okay. Yeah, that's true. And there's like with recording, you can stop, retake. But with theater, it teaches you how to improv. You have to work on your feet, and you have to know how to pick things up really fast. And that is a very, very good skill, especially in the recording process when you don't have a lot of time. You're paying for your studio time, and you need to get things done and pumping.
Yeah, theater it's a very exciting medium, just because you go step on a stage in front of 500 to 1,000 people, and you can get some really kind of crazy fun experiences. The last show we did, It's a Wonderful Life, there was a scene towards the beginning of Act 2 where I was with a couple other characters, and we were supposed to be quietly on the phone in the background of this other scene, and we just would riff and play with each other in character. So I get on the phone, and one of the characters goes, "Ask what they had to eat," and I said, "It was turkey with rosemary." And Derek, who was one of the characters, looks at me and goes, "Who's Rosemary?" And so it's just this interesting kind of adrenaline rush of now I'm trying to stay in character and not break and still tell the story, but it's just so fun because it's just you're just basically on a stage playing with people that you love, and you get to pretend for for a living.
You have wreaths fall, Christmas trees fall over, and you still have to keep going.
People forget their lines or
And you
don't
have
come
to
on stage
keep
at the
it
right
going.
points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's fun.
Awesome.
It's a lot of fun.
So I've got some questions here that are not easily grouped with other things.
Okay.
Do you have any pet peeves working with pianists? I guess that would generalize to musicians.
Okay.
Do you mostly work with tracks or live musicians or?
I've worked with both equally, and I think the hardest thing, because I think both of us, we've been in some audition rooms, and it's hard to give the pianist sheet music and they have to pick it up right away. So communicating with your vocalist beforehand is really important, and usually the vocalist will initiate it because they want their audition to go well, but I mean it's really important that the pianist is receptive and hearing them, and like they'll ask a lot of the time like tempo, and then you go through the tempo and you listen. And it's hard to pick up those things fast, but I mean it is so helpful when you walk into an audition room and you have a pianist that's willing to listen and is ready. So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of my experiences have been, since, like I said, I'm newer to theater, has been with live performances, playing concerts. I think generally one of a pet peeve of mine is a lack of originality. If you just fall into a rut as a musician, or the musicians are playing with just fall into this rut that they can't break out of, even for just one song, it really loses the energy. And so, just being able to be in a space as a musician where you're able to think on your feet, and kind of touching on what we talked about with theater a little bit, of being able to work with other people and be original and keep some newness to it at the same time as, obviously being able to stick within the context of the melody and the song that you're playing, but being able to bring some feeling and emotion to it, I think is definitely a big thing for me.
That's good.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably true in any performance aspect too. Just being aware, listening to the atmosphere of the song or of the play or whatever's going on, and reacting appropriately to that.
True.
That's good. Do either of you play piano?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, I took music fundamentals this past semester.
Yay! All right.
So I can plunk out notes, but I don't play piano.
That is where a lot of our students are at. So that's
perfect. You can relate to me.
Yes. How old are you? I assume that goes for both of you.
It's classified. No,
He's 22. I'm 18.
Yeah, that is correct, though. I'm 22.
All right. 18 and 22.
Yes.
Best case scenario, dream job. What are you doing after school or after theater?
Big question there.
Yeah. I don't know that I know the answer to what am I doing in 5 years. Right.
He's putting me first. I have an answer. Okay. So I'm going to be the idealist here and say that I would love to go to New York, and I'd love to perform professional theater, whether that's touring regionally or to do Broadway or just to do professional theater. That would be amazing. Realistically, I don't know if that's how it will turn out, but that's the ultimate goal. If not, there's professional theater around here in this local area, and also in LA and Chicago and Texas that I would love to go out and just audition for. So I guess audition for professional theater.
Can you talk a little bit about? I'm sorry, Jesse. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Before we go with the follow-up questions.
My ultimate goal is to work. I'd love to own a production company doing film and theater and television production. I'm kind of working on some different projects in there. Film is the ultimate goal for me. Right. But I also want to be able to work in theater as much as I possibly can, just because I've developed a love for it over the past year and a half.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about your experience with film and whether any of these skills have transferred over? No is an acceptable answer. It can be just an entirely different field. And then Morgan, about some of your experience in theater outside of where you're studying right now.
Yeah. Specific to film, what do you kind of?
Oh, whether your experience touring or playing, or if any of that has.
Yeah, I think that touring and playing music really helped when it came to the creative process for film. Because even though there's different types of creativity and you've got different facets and different parts of the brain that are functioning when you're playing music as opposed to when you're sitting writing and or editing something like that, it's still all a part of creating. And you're sitting down and you're making something that hasn't been made before. You're making something new. So I think what music really taught me and helped me with was and specifically when you're working in a band as well with other musicians, is how to be able to work on your feet and to be able to work with other people and function as, kind of this idea of a group mentality where you have a group of people that are all trying to create something, but being able to work with them, being able to function with them, and bounce ideas off of each other. It's very much like like an improvised jam session, doing any kind of creativity when you're doing it in a group, because you're bouncing things off each other and you're letting those things interact and work together to create something new and something better. So if your end goal is music, if your end goal is anything creative, the focus I think should always be how to just really hone that creativity and that creative mind. And I think that's a lot of what music helped me do, was just be able to work in a creative environment and be able to transition that into other creative aspects.
Yeah, for sure. And it sounds like the aspect of practicing and putting a lot of effort into something that doesn't necessarily have a quick payoff.
Never.
A lot of the arts have that in common.
Yeah. What was your question again, Jamin? I'm sorry.
Oh, for you?
Yes.
About some of your other experiences besides you're at William Jessup right now. And so aside from William Jessup, I know you have some experience with music circus and some other stuff. Yeah. So
oh my gosh, you remember.
Yeah. Can you talk about some of your experience outside of the question is just specifically about outside of school experience.
Right. Okay. So I did this besides music circus. I'll talk about that in a second. I did one professional show this past summer over in the East Coast. A teacher had an opportunity for an internship, and so I went over and I worked backstage as well as on stage. And that was a really cool experience, to experience a professional environment. And a lot of the whole cool thing about it was a lot of creative people came together to create this company, and just kind of had to like brave the weather, as we might say, because this industry is not easy, and a lot of people want to do it. And so that was really cool to be a part of something, that's like the starting of something big. So that was super fun. And then music circus. So I didn't work on stage at all, just so you all know. It doesn't really start like that, especially with the caliber of music circus. But I worked backstage as a dresser.
Real quick, I hate to interrupt. Most people aren't going to know what music circus is.
Okay.
So we got
thank you for reminding me. Music circus is a professional theater company in our local area, and it hires not local talent, like a little bit, but like mostly New York actors. And so the caliber of talent is like insane, and the quality is insane, and just the overall professionalism is like where it's at. And so I got the opportunity to be a dresser and work with a lot of really cool people, a lot of professional actors, and I got to see what it would be like going into that profession. And what I can say is this is summer stock theater, so that means there's a 1 week turnaround, meaning that you have 1 week of rehearsals and the next week you go into show. Wow. And it's intense. You're learning dances, numbers, songs, like scenes, and so fast. A lot of these people have come from regional tours, so they've done the show before. But it's insane, the amount of work. I remember the first day I walked in, I went down this like alleyway. It seemed very like New York, and I was like, "Ooh, this is exciting!" And I walked in the 2 double doors, and like all of a sudden, I was like greeted with like this piano pounding, and all the dancers in their skirts were flying up, and their legs were flying up and spinning in the air, and like I was like, "I'm where I'm supposed to be." It was crazy, and that atmosphere is like the cool thing about theater is like, there's such an accepting atmosphere, especially at the music circus where I worked at, and like there's an energy, like a palpable energy that like I cannot like find anywhere else. It is absolutely amazing. So that's just about my experience.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
There are a ton of other one-off questions here. I'm going to throw a couple of them at you all at the same time, and then let you guys just answer one or two, and then we're going to try to wrap this up. I want to be respectful of your time. I appreciate you being here. So, favorite movie, favorite play. There's a bunch of people asking, "Are you dating?" But I'm sure that would be true if I had any 2 people here.
No, that's actually a very popular question. No, we're not dating.
Yes, okay. We got close doing scenes in classes, and we hang out a lot. So
right, yeah, okay.
Sorry, everybody, but
and then so favorite movie, favorite play, and then what's the difference between a good singer and a bad singer? Is any of that interesting to you?
Okay, you go first. Favorite movie, favorite play.
Favorite movie. Right now, I've got kind of my old standards that I always go back to because they're just solid movies. Right now, last night I saw, which this is going to be apropos, I saw La La Land, which is an original musical that's out right now, and it's absolutely the most amazing film I've ever seen in a theater. I was absolutely just transfixed by this movie for, 2.5 hours, just completely got lost in it, and it's absolutely amazing. Favorite play? I'm probably going to have to go with something like A Few Good Men, which is an Aaron Sorkin piece from the late 80s into the early 90s. It had a run on Broadway for a while and then went to the West End in London. And it's just, Aaron Sorkin is my favorite writer for films and for plays. Just he's a really solid, very intelligent writer. And then as far as good singers versus bad singers, I think there's a couple things. Obviously, pitch, your ability to hold a tune is important. But I think that the most important, and this I think is true for musicians as well, even if you don't sing, is your ability to communicate emotion through your performance. Along with lack of originality, something that really bugs me is when people are not feeling the music that they're singing. So, I'll see people at open mics or something, and they're singing these really deep songs or these really sad songs, and they're just completely stone-faced. They're not letting the music actually sink in and affect the way that they're singing or the way that they're playing. I think that's really important, is you have to let the music kind of wash over you and impact the way that you work and impact the way that you play, impact the way that you sing, impact the way that you perform, because that's what draws people in. People don't get drawn in by just, there's just music that I'm hearing. People get drawn in because there's music that's actually grabbed them and touched them in a real visceral way. That's what people come to the theater to see music performed for, is to be touched by it. So you have to let it touch you first in order to be able to affect other people and impact other people.
And to piggyback off of that, because that's a huge aspect and it's so very important. But the next important thing is hard work and willing to work, because it is one thing to be good and to be talented, but it's another thing to work hard for it. And you can have talent, and that's great, and you'll get places, but you'll get even farther with hard work and just to drive and commit to excellence. Always strive for excellence. Doesn't matter if it sounds good and it sounds great, try to go the next bar higher, the next bar higher, the next bar higher, because there's somebody out there that's just going to be just as great as you, and you're going to have to meet them or match them. So
yeah, and I think just a little rabbit trail on that is something that's really important for young people, young musicians and young performers, is realizing that most of what, if you're wanting to perform, if you're wanting to do this as a profession, most of what you end up doing is going to be something that has absolutely no discernible payoff. A lot of what you do is going to be sitting in a room writing or sitting in a room practicing, and it's something there's absolutely no light at the end of this tunnel, because all you're doing is playing the same thing over and over again, or writing and rewriting and rewriting and rewriting, and there's no actual tangible thing that okay, once I finish this is going to happen.
Right. And for theater, you go in, you have an audition, it's literally 16 to 32 bars, and that's it. And you've been working for how many weeks? And that's it. And then we'll get back to you.
Wait for 2 weeks for a cast list.
Yeah, we're experiencing that right now. That's why I just said that. And then, okay, really quick, favorite movie, favorite play. This is a very hard question for me, because I didn't really grow up actually fully invested in theater, like a theater kid per se. So when it comes to plays, I don't really have a favorite. I'm kind of learning right now what my favorite is, and learning what I really like when it comes to plays. But my favorite musical, I'll tell you that. My favorite musical is Waitress. It's actually from the song that we just sang, "You Matter to Me." It's from Waitress. That was my first Broadway show, and so it has had a huge impact on me. And so I love that musical, and I love the story. And that song that we just did. There's also so many other songs that I like. Anyways, favorite movie, I don't really have one. So I know that's
a genre?
That's a lame answer. Genre? It depends on my mood, but I really like, I know. I really like comedies, and I really, really like a good romance story. What can I say?
Like Waitress. Yes?
Yeah,
All
like
right.
waitress.
Fantastic. Well, again, I want to be respectful of your time. To all of you at home or watching in the archives, send your questions along. Hopefully, I'll be able to tag Jesse and Morgan with some of your questions, especially if they are kind of grouped together with some other people. So let me know what your questions are if you're in the archives. And thank you all for your live questions and your suggestions on how to make these covers better. And, of course, to Jesse and Morgan, I want to thank you so much for being here.
Thank you,
and
Jacob.
Absolutely.
hopefully we'll get to hang out again together later.
For sure.
Please, yeah,
We will.
great.